All right. So recording started. I will paste the recordings. Here I now am committed by YouTube evidence. Yeah, so in answer to your 3 questions, is there something that needs to be prepared for the Lang team meeting? Yes, I think you've actually already done the work, but we should discuss the agenda and narrow it down.
Yes.
I made a document already. Let me find it. And I think you also made a document.
So I sent it on Zulip, your document, and that links to my document, which is in more detail.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have a detailed document and a summary document, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. One thing that's missing from yours that I want to add is, do we want to talk about the reborrow in case of moves? Do we want that as a discussion item there, or is that something we just...
Can you give me the example? What's the reborrow?
So in case of move, right now we just drop any dereferences and only move things that are on our stack. But if we had a reference to some...
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about this. I'm trying to decide the way to frame this meeting. Because one option is to start from the examples. Another is to start from the rules as we've currently implemented them, and then walk through the examples and show how they come to apply. I think there's a couple, maybe let's start with this. Let's just put some bullets.
Do you want to put the screen share on your end, or so that or I can do it on my end, just so that
either way
we have an idea what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
With it.
I'll share it on my side if I can.
1 second. I'm gonna log the start.
I probably didn't give you permission to share, so I'll just do it on my side. Let me move it to its own window. Is this it? This is it. Okay, 1 second. No, that's not it. You should.
Well, I can see Mozilla.
Yeah, I was sharing the. I think that was the wrong. Sorry. Zoom. Here we go. Now you should see it.
Yes, I have it.
All right. So what I thought would be useful, maybe this won't be the format of the doc in the end, but it'd be nice if you and me could put some bullets that summarize the rules as implemented today.
Do you just want to copy the topic sentences from my document? Might just be quicker.
Sure.
So like I have all of them.
Is it this section you're referring to?
Yeah. So it has examples and it has the.
You know what we're gonna do? Yeah, and let's do this.
Just link it there, exact section, I guess. It has really all we need.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Now, the only thing is, let me go through these because I think there might be one thing that I wanted to include that's not in here, but I'm not sure yet. Okay, yeah. This is a great doc, by the way. Nice job. I think we should structure this summary doc as links into your detailed doc.
Yeah.
So as not to have the same material in 2 places.
Yeah, I haven't done too much into the wrapper pack because I still need to look into that.
I think there's one thing missing from this document. Also, let's put like a implementation status section.
So features are, yeah, I can try to fill it in. I can pull in the details from check-in, I guess, or something. But yeah, this we can do.
Right.
That's not.
The thing I wanted to add is there's something here that we, what was it? Around if you capture the referent of a reference, there was like a reborrowing.
Yeah. So if you go again back in my document, or I can pull up the document you're referring to, I think. But basically, scroll up a little. There's some place where I say an RFC comment. I think it's in one, like point one. So over here in the first example that I have, which is the non-copy type.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to do star x dot a in the first example, we'll end up copying the whole. One second, I'll pull that up as well.
Yeah, this is the comment I was thinking of, and I think we had some. You and I talked about it in some version of our various HackMDs.
Yeah,
Also independently.
it's on the match. No, it's tagged to the issue that it was related to. So one second, I'll try to
Yeah,
pull it up.
if you can find it, it'd be great. Let's put.
Oh, sorry, give me one. Okay, there's that.
It'd be nice to have, I think, a little more detail about this.
Yes. Your comments had some information, so.
Right. I'm gonna edit your 2020 status doc to move this to I'll call it.
You should have it right. Yes, you have. Okay.
Let's call it 5 reborrowing extension, reborrowing capture, possible extension.
Where is? So
now I can.
Okay, so
link to this.
No, this is my document. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to share this on Zulip just so that.
It's fine. Share it on Zulip. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so just search for initial proposal or something. It's called possible extension if you search for this in that document. Go below, yeah, that part. So this is the.
Yes. Why don't we move this content?
Yeah.
Roughly here. Yeah. Actually, let's get the markdown source.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Do we have a good example of it? That is the question.
We have a bunch of them above. Let me. I think it's the first one where you add a
now,
template.
is this specific to move closures?
No, it's specific to moves in general.
Yeah.
So like if you look at the rules that we have rules 1 and 2 is we have one for a move closure and the second one is an extension to move because of symmetry.
Yes. So basically, if we are capturing by move, but the place
is accessed through a reference on reference that exists on the stack.
Hold on a second. I'm just thinking in my head here. So it is in a way specific to move closures because otherwise, if it's not a move closure,
right, it is. Yes, you're right.
It would just be a reference anyway.
It will be a reference anyway, or the
right.
whole thing would have been captured on its own.
Yeah, so it's really reborrowing. Give me 1 second here. Oh, sorry. Okay, here you go. No problem. Okay, reborrowing captures for move closures. These that makes them, so basically this is an extension to the rules that makes them behave a bit more like regular closures. And now, I don't.
Yeah. Just one quick thing. Is Roxanne waiting on the room?
If she is, I didn't notice, which is entirely possible.
No, she just recently joined.
Zoom is not very aggressive about. Oh, there it is. Roxanne entered the waiting room. Admit.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, they could be a little more prominent about telling me that.
Yeah.
Hi, Roxanne. Sorry for the delay. Also, your audio is
you're
very robotic.
yes.
This is the right comment. That link is not correct. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry about being late. I didn't wake up this morning.
Don't worry about it. So this is a good example. Or this is not the best example in the world.
Let me find it again. Sorry.
Oh, Roxanne, for context, we are preparing for the Lang team meeting next Wednesday, going over this sort of 2020 status document and this shorter version that links into it, thinking about what we want to tell people on the team.
Okay.
If you look at the first example that is in the doc, it actually is pretty good.
This example up here?
No. First example in the doc, yes. So you basically explain the whole thing there as the option one. Like we talk about the referent.
Yeah, this one right here, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And then we talk about the example and how it would look like.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. What this rust equals thing is that Markdown likes.
So equals puts the numbers on the left side. This is what I've noticed.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I like
it's really not important that we don't
like. I don't think the lifetimes are really key in this one.
Yeah, we basically want this part, right? This is all that matters.
That is the most important part. Yes. Yeah, but the point of using something like this was we can emit things that are on the stack. Sorry, the closure can move things that are on the stack, and not like the stack frame. Sorry, not like
right.
the
So
stack frame.
Under rule 1, this would capture S as a whole.
Yes.
Because it stops at the D reference. Under rule 5, this would, sorry, when I say capture, we mean this would move S into the closure. This would mutably reference S.x.
Yes. And move
because the capture changes to a mutable borrow as we pass through the deref of an and mute reference. And I think there's probably a similar example if we wanted.
For just a mutable
where we do like s.x.len or something.
Yeah.
And here it would share reference s.x.
And you want that to be. And you don't need mute D, you just take let D.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't think that's important. Yeah.
Same is true here. Okay, this is good. Yeah, very good. To understand the motivation, consider this example. Okay, reborrowing. Okay. Now, what about these examples? You cover these in your.
I do. So if you go again, I think it's in the section migrations. Might be easier if you look at the, or scroll down maybe. It is somewhere. Or scroll up. Sorry. It's easier if I look on my end. 1 second. Oh yeah, open bugs and migration concerns. Then migration concerns. So it has point 2, which would be the one.
So why don't we just pull this over here?
So yeah, it's called.
I don't know how much.
So it's the second. There's a linkable section which is called struct. So if you click over there, there's a struct implements a trait, but the capture does not. So the second one in the thing you have open on that side.
This one here.
Yes. So yeah, this goes both into auto traits and also because we could have clone or copy or issues around that.
So this placement, let's go through these one by one and make sure they're.
So
place mentioned in the closure isn't entirely captured. Also, we should fix the typos here.
Sorry.
No worries. So
this is something as well we need to discuss.
are these the implementation limits where we?
Yeah, these are the.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if we have time, I want to go over this.
I would probably move that a little bit lower.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I feel like that is it's worth discussing, but I think it's not worth discussing first. But we can come to this. This is just a matter of the agenda.
I think that document when I wrote was in general just a status of 2020. So
yeah, exactly.
Lang team meeting, but yes, we can move it around.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think this is like if we don't get to if the meeting runs out of time and we did not discuss this,
yeah,
I'm not too worried because it's really more of a bug than a.
Also compiler team more than Lang team, I think there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more interested in this question, which is like a policy question. So let's see, what was the.
I put that name because this includes both auto traits and just clone and everything else.
So this is and these are bugs, right? And this is
those are bugs.
Migration.
This is migration.
These are notable bugs and limitations. I would probably say these are blockers to. This is also a bug, but right, blockers to stabilization, but not.
All right, I forgot that existed. Okay, I'll ask to look into that.
What is the?
So this one was like okay. So in type check, what happens is index projections always show up as a trait implementation and until we hit write back. So since it's a trait implementation, we like, the base needs to be completely captured, even though the index trait might be implemented for an array, in which case we can just have an index projection.
Yes, yeah, there's a little bit of policy here. I think we should pull this out.
Okay.
Like it's not entirely obvious to me.
Okay.
In other words, I could see someone in the team saying that they would prefer to be consistent between overloaded and, any kind of array index works the same way.
Fair.
I don't actually know what I think myself. I guess we'll just leave it like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to go over the insignificant destructors that will be added to the language annotation, or?
I think we should go over.
We might go over the.
I think we should go over the migration plan.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Well, we'll discuss the ordering after. Let's go through it.
Okay.
And you did have a good summary here.
No, this was.
This is too detailed.
No, I did not have a summary for migration details. Yeah. I had migration bug issues. Sorry.
So I don't know if So migration plan.
We can do it in 3 steps, right? We can say mostly 2 steps. For structures in standard lib that only free up memory, we will not recommend migrations. And I guess the step 1 would be if there's a path starting off a capture that isn't completely captured, but implements drop, will not be captured.
So
will be migrated.
Something like this. When a closure would have moved an entire variable, but now moves a subpath. Moves it right or
Oh, I can pull up from the documentation I wrote for a function somewhere. 1 second. I wrote something decentish. 1 second. Sorry, this is going to take a minute. Might be easier. Let's write something and make sure it looks correct. Sorry, still looking. Where did this go? I'll add one line below this and we can see if we need to include something like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think yours covers it. So I'm going to remove this line that I added.
yeah, I think this is basically
Yeah,
the plan.
Yeah, I think the example.
I think what's missing, or I think the observation, there are a few observations. One is let x equals x is kind of hacky to be the right thing to do, right? Sometimes you might want this and it's a little goofy that you have to write that.
It also like I don't want to say eyesore, but it looks weird.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by hacky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks odd to be the recommended pattern.
Yes, I guess that's a better word.
And there are other cases besides destructors to consider. See below. And this is sort of observations and shortcomings. Because I think we may want a better capture syntax. So I think that also is relevant, like up here, right? In other words, the fact that we've had such challenges figuring out the complications of different modes may suggest, I don't know of any place where these rules go wrong, but they can certainly capture inefficient paths, right?
Yeah, so
maybe that's worth noting. We detect behavioral changes via these rules, but it's also possible for closures to change size sometimes dramatically.
Okay, so
And that is
now that
not
we're,
detected.
I don't want to, so I guess I'll bring up one thing that I was thinking about matches. And I don't know how much time we have left to go over all of it later. But if we do the fixing the match as we were talking about, it is possible that the size rose pretty dramatically, like 30x. I could be wrong. 30x in a case of like if you have 10 variants in an enum and 3 fields per thing, it is possible. And I can
I mean,
go
you could, it seems possible to, sorry, what is possible? I didn't quite understand.
So if I can share, maybe this is a tangent right now. We'll get into this. I guess I have a document with some detail. I think it might be better later. Sorry.
It's basically, I think now that I'm backfilling what you said, and I think I understand what you're saying. But if you have a big match, it could create a ton of paths from the different arms, which could in turn lead to a giant blow up in the overall size of the closure. Yeah.
Especially in Rust, if we think about it, like if we have an expert kind or a pattern kind or type kind, and we have a giant match inside a closure, if we do, it's also like the conditional if that is inside a closure.
I mean,
We
another
usually,
way, we might want to cap the paths at enums.
but yeah. So
Probably
again,
do, because
again,
you can't borrow, we can't know which match arm you're going to take.
yeah, exactly. And that
So
was my point, was the match we have, the thing we were discussing earlier, kind of seems to break that assumption. Because
currently there's always a use of the match, right?
Currently it is, yes.
So this is like
And
not relevant.
it is relevant because we have a bug file saying, so if we, okay, so the problem is if we have, let's say, match X and the only thing we match on is an underscore, outside the closure, that never creates a read, an actual read. But today it will, because we'll end up moving it when we create the closure. And I have another concern around that. So patterns are a little gimmicky. Roxanne started working on the more build stuff that we had discussed about using place builder. And I realized that that implementation might not work. I think we should, I have a document with like everything in my head. So we can maybe quickly, like, sorry, if we fill this up, we can maybe get into.
Sure, I think we're almost done here, but
yeah,
we did this auto traits.
Do
you have the?
Wait, you deleted it or?
I deleted it from the summary because.
Oh yeah, it is in there as well.
It's linking now, I think.
Yeah, so if you link it, it is there. The auto rate, there's one example there, yes.
Do we have an example of the, so I don't need this in here, right? Because
we have a box example there as well. Yes, we don't, as long as it's linked.
Where's
you might have linked the wrong one. So again, it's which one are you looking for?
Yeah, okay, this is good. Sorry, example. So the auto trade example is in your document, and it's pretty much the same one. It looks like.
Yes, I think it is the same one. I think.
And do we have
it's
this?
not. Is it mentioned? Did you link that somewhere? Because the link that's right above seems wrong.
Is what mentioned? Sorry.
So place mentioned in the closure isn't completely captured. Oh, this is something else. Oh, this is another bug. Sorry, this is not the auto trade. My question is, did you link the auto trade somewhere?
Here.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, yes. And I have the box one as well. So box one, I have part of moves. So if we go at the top, yes. So I explain, yeah.
Okay. I see. So let's put this up here. We really should like, this is kind of a why move closures don't capture derefs.
So that again, if my document links into it, like has that call, like it has a little motivation thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
so it's
right. This is kind of this first point is kind of wrong behavior for references.
Yeah.
It's too bad I can't link to individual bullets, but that's okay.
We can turn those into like the really small headings. I can do that. 1 second.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
They'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's in flow structure.
So, okay. Good. So then I can remove this example BX. I think what you were just mentioning, we'll get to it, but right, the point is where we may now capture many more paths than we used to, inflating the size of closures.
Also, performance in general will be impacted because we need to search through captures.
Do you mean like compilation time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's true, but it's a compiler team concern.
Okay. Yeah.
This is
so
something.
This is around the match. This is around.
This is basically here.
Yes. Yeah, that's the bug, but it. Oh, actually, can you undo the last two things? So this is around. So no, I think this is a little different. So that one is a bug, which is a compiler bug. The first one. The second one is that. It is possible that, especially in case of the match example, that even though nothing is used from the match, we still borrow it. So it represents two different things, I think.
Oh.
I don't know if that makes sense.
What
I
are
think,
the two things?
So one is so the one is like in the match example, at least, since nothing is used from it, we still capture the whole variable. The first problem is that even though X is mentioned, so I guess in your the second snippet that you're highlighting right now, the first and the last one represent two different problems. One is that X would not be captured on that line, and that will create a compiler issue because that will create an ICE. And the last line, the problem is X will be captured even though it's not used, which is a LAN team issue, I guess, in some sense. Or at least that's my kind of understanding, where like one creates an internal compiler error.
Today, this is true?
Yes.
Okay.
This is true because we don't have a fix in yet. Or can we do it is another question we'll get to in a minute. The other one is, should X be captured in case of a scrutiny and match?
Yes. So what I was thinking, I see. So the thing I was mostly concerned about with this section was basically, should X be captured in all of these examples? I think ideally the answer would be the same for all of them.
Yes. Now, okay, so I guess this is kind of a good point for me to segue into, at least from the compiler side of my problems.
Okay.
Sorry. So the main issue that we see here, at least from a compiler standpoint, is that X needs to be captured because we need a fake read of X in MER to be able to handle this.
Why don't we call this, hold on, let's call this, let's just keep this section since it seems like this examples are useful for the Lang team. And then we can move on. I think we're done with, this is our agenda now. We've got plenty to cover. We probably won't get through all of it. Current status does. We could put a little, the only thing missing then is this. We'll come to, okay.
Can I share my screen?
Might make it easier. Sure. Let's do that. Let me stop sharing, first of all. and then figure out how to give you. Go for it.
All right, awesome. Let's see if it lets me. Okay, so I'll share this doc. I'll put this in an issue. So this is the MER stuff that MER built. So Roxanne started this working on the refactoring that we talked about. We use place builder as many places as possible in the match code as many places as possible in the match code so that essentially we can support some of the error cases that we just saw that we were talking about. So from a compiler perspective, this is actually going to be interesting / I am going to say hard right away. So let's consider this very basic example where we have this kind of two tuple and we don't match on anything. The MER that's generated for this has two sort of fake reads. So one is a fake read to match on this side so that we can just make sure the pattern matching happens, which is fine for now in this. The second one happens over here. We still need a fake read for the matched place, even though we don't really use anything out of this. Now, my concern comes around when we put this in a closure, we are not able to create a place for T if we do not capture T because it's not being used because it's not being captured by a closure. I don't know if that bit made sense. The reason we need a fake read over there is this. I do not quite understand the integrate, like whatever details are around this. I do not know if this is fixable in the near term. So from an implementation point of view, I am not, I have a way around that. The more I wrote, the less I thought it was feasible, but I would still like to bring it up and go in more detail. And the issue will also exist for, I think, if we had a let underscore equals, because again, we would have introduced a fake read. We need a fake read of the match place. In this example, that doesn't quite work because it's just an R value. But if we were actually matching on a place, that would have been in like ice.
Okay, I'm thinking about it now. So I know what that comment's about. It's a pretty orthogonal thing. I would like to fix it a different way, or like, I have a blog post I can point you at that gives the background here. If you want to get, deep dive, I'm trying to figure out how deep we have to go.
I have an idea around another solution to handle this. It is, in my opinion, non-ideal in the sense that it's special casing closures a little too much, and I think it can introduce debugging difficulties down the line. And it really relies on if we can do something like this. If we can actually create a variable out of a fake read and keep the fakeness, assuming that basically the idea is we keep this fake read and this fake read is never used really outside of, well, any fake read. Like we don't end up really doing an actual read out of it. If we can do something.
Go on.
So if we can do something like that, then we essentially what we do is I might have erased this, but basically, I probably wrote it somewhere, but yeah, what we do is, so we have the list of mentioned up first, and we essentially fake read all of them as operands to the closure instead of moving them by value or whatever we would do in case of actual captures. And then those fake reads will end up in another fake reads. And if we actually ever need a precise path that needs to be captured, we will be able to capture it.
So Okay. What you're proposing here is that the closure does capture the X, but it does so with something, but the creator of the closure substitutes a sort of dummy value. Is that right?
Yeah, I was really just going for another fake read like we have, but yes, it's just like something that allows us to refer to the original place so that we can do whatever. Again, I don't know the exact details of what goes in a fake read, but essentially emulate something similar all throughout.
So can you
I can share this.
actually, let's get a hack and let's go back. Let's get something we can both type in.
Yeah, I can share this one, I think. I'll send it on Zulip unless you
yeah.
want to start a new fresh one.
No, this is
that
perfect.
also
Yeah,
works.
go ahead, share that.
This also works.
Okay.
Oh, I think I'm looking at the wrong screen now. 1 second. Yeah.
Why is this not opening? There it goes. Okay.
And I guess one more thing. So Roxanne did a partial implementation where not everything has been changed to use a place builder. And we already have started seeing some degree of perf regression.
Oh yeah.
In like the stress cases, we definitely see reds and everything else is also positive.
Yeah, not too big, but yeah, okay.
But we have kind of just started. So I'm just kind of like, because we'll be calling clone a lot.
Right.
Because place builder is not copy.
Yep. I understand. So let's walk through this example a bit. 2021-01. What's the date?
Which one?
I'm typing at the bottom of your document.
Okay. Okay.
So the example that causes fake reads is and the problem that caused us to do a fake read here was that match extent was compiling to nothing because there's kind of no matching to do. In fact, you just shouldn't be able to get here, basically. But you could, because the only reason you couldn't be able to get here is that you were accessing this uninitialized value. What we kind of, but the way that we represent that was not causing a problem. So we added this fake read to say like, the thing you're matching on must be initialized is basically what it's asserting. And what I think the right fix that my blog post, which I could look for if you wanted to read the background, goes into, where is it? Okay. Is to introduce never patterns. So the idea would be that this is actually a kind of shorthand for this, essentially. And let's see, is that the notation I used? Yes, it is. Okay. And the idea would be, this is kind of explicitly, where was I? Here we go. Explicitly asserting the effect of the never pattern is kind of to say, if you get here at runtime, it's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, it's asserting that there's an uninitialized value here, and therefore you shouldn't get there at runtime. But if you did, you could think of it like a panic or something, or only it won't actually panic. And the point would be, now if we did this, we wouldn't have no arms. We have one arm, which is this never arm, and that never arm would probably add the fake read, which would in turn be considered a read by expression use visitor and so forth. So like it would all kind of work. The problem here is that the read is, we don't have an explicit representation of
No pattern.
this has to be initialized at this point. And there are some subtle things around unsafe code I did talk about in the blog post where like it conceivably, if you know, depending how you, depending, without some way to say this explicitly, there's some like certain things could be UB or not. It's kind of hard to say. So in any case, that would be nice, but I don't want to put that on our docket, like trying to implement this, which would require a fair amount of work and rethought, you know. So I see your point. I was thinking, what does this example look like in a closure? I guess it looks like this.
Yes.
And the point is, we don't want this to compile either, I imagine. And if we did nothing else, the problem will be when you come to insert that fake read, you're going to have a place builder that is not resolved
Buildable, yes.
to a real location. And well, so it's certainly possible to imagine that instead of recording basically what you proposed or something like it might make sense. You could imagine having, for each closure, there's a set of captures and a set of initialization checks or something, fake reads, so to speak.
We have upwards mentioned, right? So they can just
This is
utilize
not
that.
This is not that. I think
like
that you could utilize that, but that would be also okay. You could say that the closure does a fake read of every upvar mentioned, but
exactly.
But what I meant was, well, okay, so let's write that out.
Like another thing I think where you're going with is like anything that would be scrutinized in a pattern, we kind of introduce a fake read for it and expert use visitor. Essentially.
That's not.
Oh, okay.
Well, that might be what I was going to say, actually. I'm not sure what scrutinize means.
Like the discriminant or like whatever the thing that's being matched on our pattern. Those are the kind of words I've seen on the compiler, so that's where I'm going from.
Yeah, I've seen it used. I just don't. It's not like we have a formal definition, so I'm not sure if we're using it with the same.
Okay.
By scrutiny, you mean this expression here that's in the match?
Yeah, the thing that's being matched on. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know where you're writing, but yes.
I'm writing at the very bottom of the doc.
So it doesn't show me highlights, but yes, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just realized that this is not Google Docs, so it's not going to show you my highlight, but this.
Yes, that thing.
Okay. So yeah, you could do something like this. If the match would introduce a fake read, and then separately, when a closure is constructed, insert fake read for every upvar mentioned in addition to its captures.
Yeah. Well, we probably want to call it place mention then, but yeah, that's. Well,
that was sort of what I was going to get at, actually.
Yeah.
So I think you could do this exactly as I wrote it. It's just a little bit like weird. It's not great because it's in problems with this exact formulation. It's imprecise. Like if you had match x dot y, it would still.
No, we can do match x dot y here.
Do a fake read of x, right? So if you change it, so I think what I think you're suggesting now, a more precise formulation is expression use visitor records, let's call them scrutinies, fake reads. And these are only for matches, right? We don't have the same semantics for let.
No, for let. No, we need to do let for as well. So again, if you scroll up in the borrow checker part, we have a fake read for let as well.
Okay, fine. Let match scrutinies, fake reads. This part is all the same. And then here, when a closure is constructed, insert fake read for every for every let match scrutiny
Mhm.
place. And this can be consolidated a little bit, and you can, well, you could do this like, or at least let match scrutinies that are not otherwise captured, right?
Yes.
Um,
I just looked at the doc again and realized one thing I messed up on this is so there's again possibility. So if we scroll up a little, where I have some concerns right above the performance section. So we have a broken assumption that multivariant enums are captured completely. So we probably would want to match on the type of the scrutiny to see if it's a multivariant enum, because otherwise what will happen is
okay.
what will happen is each of these places will be captured individually. So if you look at the example above, so when I do match X in the first thing, I get two places that are captured, which are both for the sum enum A and sum enum B. Another problem with not capturing, so this is that
Yeah,
if you
okay, I
look at the
understand.
last example, which is the match W one, sum B doesn't create any binding, which means
Yeah.
it will not really generate a capture for it. Again, we can force a lot of these things to happen. So
yeah, the problem seems to be that there's an implicit read of the discriminant happening. And I think in mirror, this is actually made explicit, or I forget, but this was something else that motivated us. We had some similar reasoning, and fake reads, although I think fake reads were part of how I fixed this, but I have to look. But
yeah,
and that's not reflected in the upvar. There are the expression use visitor.
it on purpose avoids anything that does not create a binding. So that's what I'm going with. We can force things. Question is to what degree do we want to do that?
But I think that's actually wrong. Like it's wrong for it not to consider this a read when you match on when you have a pattern that like when it descends into this sum enum A pattern, that should really be considered a read of the place that it's looking at right then.
It does not. I ran this right before this meeting. I can.
No, I'm not disputing that it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think that's a bug.
Oh, okay.
And that's probably how I would want to fix it, because you are reading. Well, it's a little bit tricky because it's a subtle bug. It's not exactly a read. It's different than a read.
I think it's also because it's a lot of these places create a wildcard. So this one especially introduces a wildcard pattern. So those just get discarded, I think, because of that. B is just like it will never create a binding. So it's like it's not really
I think
used.
I think it is a read. I think if you match on a multivariant enum, you have to consider that a read of the entire enum, because you have to load the discriminant, and the only way to load the discriminant is to have a capture of the whole enum. So I think it's just a read, and the fact that it's not a read today is a bug. But
okay, so it is a read. Okay, so the code ends up working because we read the discriminant or scrutiny on its own. So
right, the code works today because we read this, but if we remove that, we have to add it back.
Yeah,
any pattern that has a discriminant. So that would mostly mean multivariant or like pattern bindings like this. They're what do you call it? Refutable, but also I guess constants and other things, right?
Yeah. Like even arrays or anything. Like if you're matching on anything, you would have to read the value. I don't see a way around it.
Yeah, I think that's just that it needs more reads. So we should add that too. Must also record reads for patterns with discriminant tests, etc. I have to drop off because of another call. Well, actually, yeah, I should. But I guess if we have a few more things, I could wait. I can miss this call.
I think this is basically what I had. But yeah, if in case we don't, like, yeah, so I guess if we do that, then we can probably, so if we basically have a match or two match arms, then we want to read, and if you have a single match arm, we want to, if you have a single match arm, it either is an underscore, or if it's a irrefutable pattern, that should really be converted. But again, you can write it like if you have a, like
Yeah.
something, so maybe
This also
something like,
avoids this problem, right? Because you won't, once you get to a match, once
no,
you
but
get
we still
to,
need,
once you get to a multivariate enum, you will always capture the whole thing. You'll never do sub patterns.
it doesn't solve the problem of lead bindings, because lead bindings are irrefutable patterns that need a fake read.
Yeah, but those we're addressing via
The fake read. Okay,
the
assume.
sacred
Oh, I thought it. Okay, I thought you didn't want to. I can't see your highlights. It's a little confusing. What you meant by addressing? Okay, yeah. So we need fake reads and we need the match in case of irrefutable patterns. Refutable patterns.
Yeah, you need to do both. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What I meant was, if we do the match in case of, if we record reads for patterns with discriminant tests, then if you scroll up, the thing that you highlighted as the amount of information we store for captures will grow.
Oh,
that
will
that's
gets
not
fixed.
that's also gets fixed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, good. Then I'll drop
Sounds
off
good.
and
All right. Thank you.
talk to you all later. All right, bye.
All right. See you. Thank you. Oh.